Today's show is about two lonely people unable to pursue their dreams, who eventually get comfort and inspiration from each other. I hope you enjoy it. Masami Kondo runs a small cafe called Cafe Restaurant Garden, and one of his cafe workers is a young woman named Akira Tachibana. Some of Tachibana's coworkers think Kondo is a bit sad because he keeps saying sorry to the customers. During her break, Tachibana goes to a room and sees a boy doing his schoolwork. This boy is Kondo's son, Yudo, so Tachibana helps Yudo learn to play his music instrument outside the cafe. Later, Tachibana meets a friend from her old running team, Haruka, at school. They talk about an upcoming competition. While on break, Tachibana finds Kondo's shirt hanging on a chair. This makes her remember her first visit to the cafe. Back then, on a rainy day, Kondo was really nice to her. He gave her a free cup of coffee and did a magic trick to cheer her up. Tachibana takes the shirt and sniffs it, feeling nostalgic. Suddenly, Kondo comes back and sees her smelling the shirt. Tachibana feels embarrassed and quickly puts the shirt back, and thankfully he doesn't notice. She then sits down to finish her break, feeling shy around Kondo. One day Kondo introduces a new part-timer named Yoshizawa, who is in the same class as Tachibana. Yui quickly starts liking Yoshizawa. The cafe isn't busy, so Yui asks Tachibana to tell her things that make her happy. While Tachibana is thinking, she notices Kondo and changes the topic. One customer forgets his phone, so Tachibana tells Kondo. He tries to get the customer's attention, but it doesn't work because the customer is riding a bike. Kondo decides to wait for the customer, but Tachibana runs after him and catches him. On the way back, Tachibana's ankle hurts and she falls down. Kondo takes Tachibana to a nearby clinic for her ankle. Tachibana leaves early and thinks about what happened that day. That night, Kondo calls her to check if she's okay. The next day, Kondo visits Tachibana's mom to apologize about what happened. Tachibana accidentally admits her feelings, but Kondo misunderstands and thinks she just likes him as a friend. Tachibana thinks about what happened yesterday and wonders if she should have said her feelings differently. While heading home from school, a member of the track team sees her and asks her to join them on the field. Tachibana watches from far away and remembers when she used to be on the track team. She suddenly decides she needs to leave. The track team suggests eating at the family restaurant where Tachibana works, but she declines at first, then changes her mind, saying it's too far. While leaving, it starts to rain. Tachibana remembers how she hurt her ankle during track and how she met Kondo. Meanwhile, the rain gets heavier. Kondo goes out for a smoke just as Tachibana comes up. He wants her to come inside, but she confesses her feelings again and walks away, leaving Kondo surprised. The next day, Tachibana is back at work like usual, and Kondo wonders if what happened last night was a joke or a dream. After work, Kondo drives Tachibana to the train station and talks to her about reconsidering her feelings. Tachibana discusses her feelings with Kondo and refuses to reconsider, so he suggests that they should go on a date to see if they don't match well. Kondo tries to explain he was just thinking about it, but she keeps asking for a date, and he eventually agrees. Meanwhile, Tachibana's coworker Kase has romantic thoughts about her. Without realizing it, she lets him read one of her school books, and he finds drawings that show she likes Kondo. Kase promises not to tell anyone, but he wants her to go on a date with him. Tachibana reluctantly agrees, and her date with Kase and her date with Kondo both happen in the same places. But Tachibana feels disgusted during the date with Kase, while her date with Kondo is wonderful. Kase suggests Tachibana should stop trying to be with Kondo and date someone her own age instead. Meanwhile, Kondo comes back to the restaurant, thinking Tachibana didn't have a good time. One day, Yudo brings his new hamster to show the restaurant staff and says he wants to walk home by himself. The staff doesn't like this idea, so Tachibana offers to walk him to Kondo's apartment when she finishes work. When they get there, Kondo isn't home, so Tachibana makes food for Yudo, and he tells her about how his dad likes books. Later, Kondo comes back, and Yudo suggests a surprise for him. Tachibana hides in a closet. Kondo agrees to take care of the hamster, and when Tachibana jumps out of the closet, she gets really hot and collapses. Yudo tries to get her a drink but accidentally spills it on her shirt. Kondo lends her one of his shirts and goes to the laundromat. When it starts raining, Tachibana and Yudo bring Kondo an umbrella. Tachibana tells Kondo that she wants to get to know him better. The restaurant staff has fun and talks to Kondo about the hamster. For the first time, Kondo feels like he belongs with the staff. Tachibana gets a bit mad and tells everyone to get back to work. She tells Kondo that he can ask her for help with the hamster in the future. One day, Haruka sees Tachibana with Yui and remembers how they ended up at the same high school. Tachibana hears two girls talking about a rumor that having a special keychain can help you get closer to someone you like. Tachibana tries to get one from a machine, but doesn't get the special one. Haruka comes over and they walk together for a bit. Haruka thinks back to how they both started running. Haruka gets the special keychain and gives it to Tachibana along with a note about their friendship. Tachibana meets Kondo at the library and asks for book recommendations. Kondo suggests she should find a book that interests her. He finds a book by someone he knows, and he seems sad. Tachibana borrows that book for him, and a couple of books for herself. Later at the restaurant, the staff talks about making a group chat, and Kondo reads the book he borrowed when he has some free time. Tachibana thinks about asking Kondo if they can text, but she asks about the book instead. He says it was written by a friend. Tachibana thinks that's impressive, but Kondo doesn't seem happy about it. He pushes her away. Later, Tachibana's mom wants her to skip work because of a coming storm, but she doesn't want to. Unfortunately, Kondo is sick and not at work. During her break, Kase joins Tachibana in the office and tells her she should stop trying to be with Kondo. He says it's causing problems for him. After work, Tachibana goes to Kondo's apartment in the storm, so he lets her in. She asks if her feelings for him are a problem, but he strongly says they aren't, and he hugs her as a friend. The next day, Tachibana is sick and misses work, and she thinks about her hug with Kondo in a romantic way. Later at the restaurant, Kondo makes it clear to Tachibana that they're just friends. Yoshizawa feels bad about Kondo criticizing his hair, so Yui offers to cut it for him. Yui says she wants to be a hairdresser and has some skill. Yoshizawa agrees, but Yui tells Tachibana that she's not actually that good at cutting hair, and only wanted an excuse to spend time with Yoshizawa. Remembering her own experiences with Kondo, Tachibana encourages Yui not to give up on her crush. Tachibana tells Kondo that since they're friends, she wants to text with him. Haruka meets the old captain of the school's soccer team, Yamamoto. She gets uncomfortable when the conversation turns to Tachibana. When Yamamoto tries to follow her, Haruka realizes he stopped being captain because of a knee injury. She tells him she's worried Tachibana won't come back, but he assures her that's not true based on his own experience. Tachibana and Kondo talk about her homework on the Rashomon short story. They discuss what they think about the servant's choice, and what they would do in that situation, and later Tachibana invites Haruka to a festival. During the festival, Tachibana and Haruka become closer, but Tachibana's attention shifts when she spots Kondo with his son at the festival. Haruka figures out Tachibana's feelings, but Tachibana doesn't want to talk about it. Haruka blames Tachibana for their strained friendship, and Tachibana explains that things can't go back to how they were, so Haruka leaves the festival upset. Later, Kondo goes to a restaurant he used to visit in college and meets Chihiro, an old classmate. They talk about Chihiro's book that Kondo borrowed, and the time they were in college together. Kondo admits he secretly continues writing as a hobby. Meanwhile, Haruka avoids Tachibana at school, and later at the restaurant, Kondo notices Tachibana seems sad. She tells him about the situation with Haruka. Kondo talks about the big moon in the sky that night. He shares his meeting with Chihiro, and explains that Tachibana can also get close to her friend again, even if they are growing apart for now. Tachibana decides to make a wish on the big moon. One day, Tachibana comes across an ad for a used book fair, and asks Kondo to help her pick books. Kondo meets a bookstore owner he knows, and they share a story about the world's shortest letter, a message from Victor Hugo to his publisher. The letter was just a question mark, and the reply was an exclamation mark. Kondo gets really into the story and disappears. Tachibana texts him, and they continue the conversation in the same way. Meanwhile, Haruka feels the distance between her and Tachibana. Tachibana goes to the clinic and is told her injury has healed, but she doesn't want to do the therapy needed to go back to track and field. Kondo sees Chihiro in a TV interview and remembers how his relationship with writing was similar to his friends, but it took him on a different path. Kondo and Tachibana find a bookmark with the shape of a bird in a book she got at the book fair. Kondo remembers a bird's nest outside the restaurant. Tachibana wonders what would happen if a bird couldn't leave its nest. Kondo says some happiness might be found in staying behind, but the bird would always look at the sky. Tachibana tells Kondo she hopes he'll start writing novels again, and she's excited to read whatever he writes. One day during track practice, Haruka finds out that Kurata from another high school recently improved her personal best in the 100-meter race, even though she had the same injury as Tachibana. This inspires Haruka, who is determined not to give up on her friend. Meanwhile, Tachibana requests her work shifts for November, but Kondo is unsure about it because she'd be spending most of her free time at the restaurant. Haruka comes to see Tachibana at work and asks her to come back to track and field, telling her about Kurata's story. Meanwhile, Kondo learns that one of Chihiro's books is being made into a movie. Suddenly, Chihiro visits Kondo's place, and they connect over coffee and writing exercises. Kondo congratulates Chihiro about the movie, but Chihiro confesses he doesn't like his own book and only wrote it because he thought it would be popular. Kondo says he can't go back to his old writing style, but Chihiro believes he simply won't. That night, Kondo starts writing again. The next day, Kondo asks Tachibana once more if there's nothing else she would rather do. Tachibana gets upset and firmly says there's nothing else. Later, Haruka realizes that visiting Tachibana at the restaurant was a mistake. Tachibana almost throws away a survey about her future career from school, but changes her mind. Kondo has been going to the head office often, so some staff members think he might get a promotion. While Yui cuts Yoshizawa's hair, he asks how she chose to become a hairdresser. Yui admits that Yoshizawa was her inspiration, and he tells her not to give up on her choice. At the same time, Kondo keeps writing at night. Haruka remembers when she and Tachibana first saw Kazuhai and promised to do track together. Tachibana finds Yuto in the office during her break. He wants her to teach him to run for his PE class because he promised his dad he would keep running until he crosses the finish line. Kondo thanks Tachibana and tells her that he also made a promise to keep writing. He wonders if she made a promise too that she's forgetting. Tachibana thinks about photos with Haruka and looks at a guide for rehabilitation. Kondo says his recent visits to the head office were about a new restaurant menu, and he has to go back there. He forgets his folder, so Tachibana goes to give it to him. While he's on the phone, Tachibana starts to leave, but he calls her back and she runs to him. After they hug, they promise to let each other know when they fulfill their promises. Tachibana texts Haruka that she wants to go back to track, and they make up and rekindle their friendship. Now on a journey to pursue their respective dreams, Kondo and Tachibana promise not to forget each other, and Kondo finishes his latest novel, After the Rain, inspired by his time with Tachibana. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.